Welcome to session 2 of our Dark Rituals and Robespierre series of the game Révolution, a dark magic and political intrigue game set during the French Revolution. My name is Sam Zimmerman. I use he, him pronouns, and I am going to be facilitating this game. It's not a GM, so I don't have a whole lot of control over the story. I'm just here to make sure that people remember that rules exist, and that's about it. So why don't we go around and just introduce yourself, Richard, Robbie, Stephen, give your pronouns and where people can find you if they want to.
All right. I am Richard. I use he, him pronouns. I have a soon-to-be resurrected podcast about old-time radio called 1,000 Maybe Worlds, where I talk about old-time radio science fiction anthologies. But other than that, you can mainly find me here on the Gauntlet. Did you want us to introduce our characters too right now, or?
I was going to go through safety tools first, but
okay, no problem. No problem.
Robbie?
There.
Oh,
right. Sorry, I was for some reason. Never mind. Go ahead, Robbie.
Okay. My name's Robbie. I use he, him pronouns. I've been playing on the Gauntlet, I think, for about 2 years now. Yeah, I guess one place you'll find me is playing games on the Gauntlet. I do have a little blog that I keep up that deals with role-playing games in the classroom, and I am kind of interested in exploring how teachers can kind of utilize role-playing games for education. And so that's I call it Ludoverse. So it's ludoverse.blogspot.com is where I keep my blog.
Yep, either. And I'm Stephen, he, him. I've been here on the Gauntlet for about a year, and I don't really exist anywhere else. I'm actually running another belonging outside belonging game, Sleepaway, this month as well.
awesome. And to plug my own stuff, I wrote this game. You can find games like this one and all of my other offerings at typhosgames.com, or you can find me on Twitter at typhosgames. So with that, let us quickly review our safety tools. We are using Xcard, script change if we need it, open door policy, and lines and veils. Our lines and veils for this series, we have lines on sexual assault and torture. We have veils on graphic gore and homophobia. We have ask first on bullying, racism, human sexuality, and suicide. And we have enthusiastic consent on classism. And with that, why don't each of us give a quick rundown of our characters and the factions that we are kind of going along with them. I will go first. I will be playing as Jean-Baptiste, who is a member of the recently deposed aristocracy, probably not directly related to the ruling line, but he's at least a high-ranking member of the royalty, who is kind of living in hiding at this point. We are playing during the Reign of Terror, and so all of the royals are in hiding, trying to eke a life out in the shadows. And my brother is the current leader of the crown, and I don't like where he's driving us, so we have yet to figure that out. Robbie, why don't you introduce us to Aurore?
All right, so Aurore is a an artist, and she has, I would say, rather grandiose ideas about theater and art, and she feels as though the kind of dramatic events happening and swirling around her, including the violent ones, are kind of perhaps kind of showing the way to some kind of new revolutionary art form that she's hoping to tap into. And I guess a few things about her background. My father is convinced that I'm a failure, and I perhaps have shared some of my artistic visions with him, but he has no interest whatsoever and thinks that that is a completely fruitless avenue that I'm pursuing. I do have contacts with a baron who does love my work, so at least I have that going for me. And I guess one other a little bit about myself is that I do have a fondness for fine red wine, and I kind of look for opportunities to indulge in that passion.
Awesome. Stephen?
Hey there, I'm playing yes, lead investigator Cloud of the what did I call them? The Office of Investigations, who more or less is responsible for peace in the city, if not the actual center of political power. Most of the kind of, we direct the kind of justice in the city, and I am of course associated with the sword. Yeah. We also have, just in case something were to happen, we have just been storing some toxic gas under the various neighborhoods of the city, release it in case there's something happens.
That's not ominous at all. And Richard, why don't you introduce us to Sabine?
Okay, Sabine is a former ballet dancer who fell from her lofty position over the course of the last few years and onto hard times. But because of her prior position and then kind of the tragedy and romance of her story, she's become beloved of the people. And Aurora has tried to harness that in the interest of the revolution, but Sabine has vociferously rebuffed her, and yeah, she lives in a garret in Montmartre, inhabited by artists and intellectuals and students and other disreputable types, and she is the person who is selected by popular acclaim to draw the lots that determined who went on the expedition to the miasma. And yeah, and she just I think she's never seen a can of worms she wasn't willing to open.
That is a very apt description. Right. So before we get started, there is something that I realized we forgot to do last time. And that is our faction relationships. So there is a tab on the character keeper for the faction relationships. And each of us gets to add one relationship to our own faction. The only rule about these is that they must be one-sided. So it is not the so if I was the rebellion, I can't put the rebellion and the crown work together on everything or something like that. It would be like the rebellion is willing to work with the crown on everything because the crown can have a completely opposite relationship in their view of that same dynamic. Does that make sense?
So these are like a relationship with another faction is what we're thinking.
Correct. So this is the faction itself behaves this way with the other faction. They should be short. They should be punchy. They should be direct. Don't try to explain why. Just that is the current state of the city. And so mechanically, these act as drives for your faction. So if you fulfill one of these things during play, you get to take that point of power. And then at the very end of the session, when we cash in that power to do something, you also get to write in a new relationship based on how that changed. So I think at least on my end, the one that I'm going to add in is that the crown is currently relying on the trodden for protection. Because we're in hiding, we're trying to avoid being seen, and it sounds like the trodden are basically extorting us right now to kind of keep us hidden. And I do kind of want to explore that dynamic.
I guess we can kind of hot potato this then, because I had an idea. I think Le Piatine is disenchanted with the rebellion.
I like that. Steven, do you have an idea? Or Robbie, do you have an idea?
Kind of bouncing between a couple thoughts.
Hello.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it makes sense that the rebellion would have a relationship with the sword. I'm just trying to think of like how to, yeah, I have some ideas as to like where that might go.
Well, what's your thought?
I mean, one would be a kind of just straightforward, the rebellion kind of relies on the sword to
Maintain order.
well, I was even thinking of like to beyond that to kind of instill fear and terror when people can't see when the rebellion, cannot otherwise persuade people to join the cause, that they rely on trying to kind of manipulate the sword into kind of terrorizing individuals or groups that
Okay, so the rebellion manipulates the sword to
yes,
serve its ends.
right.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll just, to make it circular, I'll say that seeks to capture and control the crown.
I like that. It makes it even more imperative that Toulouse keeps his heritage hidden.
Well, unfortunately, I did find out someone's secret.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see where that goes. Yeah, so this is great. So at any time you guys feel like you achieved or you furthered one of these relationships, acted in this way, then you can take that point of power. Also from last time, I was going back through last week's episode, and I think that Sabine definitely should have at least 1 point from their scene last week.
Okay, so where is power?
It's
there it is. I see it.
It's kind of low in the character
line
sheet.
83, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just change that to 1.
Yes, because one of
Alright.
your faction drives is magic, and
Yeah.
you acted to try and capture the secrets of whatever Toulouse brought back. So that totally makes sense. So, unless people had a specific spot they wanted to start, I was interested in kind of exploring Jean-Baptiste's relationship with Aurore, because I don't currently have anything between the two of us. And one of my one of my faction moves is to demonstrate how much someone has to gain. And so I kind of want to do that with Aurore, and see if I can't kind of tempt you into some kind of bargain. And so how would I go about contacting you or getting a hold of you?
I think because I'm looking at some of my people that I already have connections with, that you might know about. I mean, my father, who thinks I'm a failure. I don't know if, just looking at some of my key relationships as to whether Jean-Baptiste would know about any of those relationships and be able to kind of use that as a way to get the foot in the door.
Yeah, we also have this Baron that we haven't really fleshed out very much. Baron Jean de Tourneur.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be an in, maybe. So what exactly is your relationship with this Baron? Because I think we've fleshed out that Sabine is Sabine is in debt to him, but I don't remember what we established for Aurore.
I wonder if we, I'm thinking now, I could imagine him as somebody who would be roughly my father's age, and right on some level, perhaps a kind of substitute father figure, in addition to perhaps giving me some resources to pursue my artistic visions, but might also be somebody who I kind of see as kind of filling something of a vacuum left by the fact that my father is thinks of me as a failure.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. So I think that I would definitely like leverage that connection, because I feel like if he is this father figure, even through the hard times and the revolution, the two of you probably would have kept in touch. And so I'm basically going to have him write you a letter that says, you need to meet this person at such and such a place and time. They have information about you.
Okay.
And so I want to loop that back into this like secret that's been going around. And so basically, so I think that I ask you to come and meet me in this like rundown house in like the back streets of Paris. It's grimy, it's broken, it's dusted. Like
Yeah, I'm
the
looking
streets
at our locations. I mean, is Workman's Row? Is that a I don't know who put that place.
Yeah, we could have it there. Be like an apartment above like a carpentry shop or something like that. So there's like sawdust everywhere and bits of cloth, and so we open up with you opening the door into this room that is you can tell that the person living here is trying desperately to make it look upscale with the worst possible things to work with. So all of all the furniture is like rough, and some of it's broken. Like there's a chandelier, but it's like cracked and bits of it are missing. There's a grandfather clock in one corner that just doesn't work. It's like it's missing one of its hands, then the front is broken. But everything is laid out in this it's like high fashion. Everything is laid out perfectly where it should be, and it meets all of the requirements of modern taste, even though none of it's working and it's all garbage. And Jean-Baptiste is sitting at this desk that's just covered in papers, and looks up as you enter and like waves you in. You must be Aurore.
Yes, I am. I'm. Well, you must know my father. I got this note that from my father that there was somebody I needed to see.
Well, that someone is me. You are in an extraordinarily precarious position. Do you know that?
Well, I guess I need to know what you mean by precarious, and in what sense. I mean, if it has to do with my father, well, you know, our animosity has lasted now for many years.
No, I'm not talking about him. I've never met him. I knew I knew the Baron de Tonnerre, so he got me in touch with you. No, I'm talking about this. And I hold up an envelope. And I hand it to you.
And I take the envelope, and I don't immediately open it. I say, you seem to be somebody who likes to pose mysteries. I look at the envelope. I mean, do I notice anything about like the stationery? I would imagine that as an artist, I kind of evaluate, right? I'm looking at the quality of the paper.
Yeah, I'm assuming that it is very like poor quality paper. It's rough. It looks like it was kind of hurriedly put together and rushed, and it smells like almost sulfurous. Like it was made in like a chemical plant.
And I think, you know, she's kind of looking at it. She's, you know, she notices that smell and immediately kind of pulls it away from her nose and says, well, I guess I could open this up to see what's inside, but you have intrigued me a little bit. What am I going to find in this envelope?
I'm not trying to kill you if that's what you're worried about. No, you'd already be dead if I was trying to kill you.
And I think with that, she carefully works the envelope open and pulls out to see what's inside.
Yeah, Richard, what does this note say? Because this is the note that you wrote, or a copy of that note. I figured it's like a copy of that note that's basically saying like Aurore is like trying to get in our way, essentially.
Oh yeah. Or wait, it wasn't that Aurora was getting in the way, it's that Sabine was getting in the way, right? This wasn't, Sabine didn't write the note, as I recall, was it?
No, you wrote.
I thought I was narrating it. Oh, okay. Let me just like kind of flashback here and try to remember. Okay, so
am I getting this backwards? I might be getting.
I think I narrated somebody. This was a note that went up to someone above Aurora in the Revolutionary Organization about
Sabine.
About Sabine.
Okay, yeah. So, and yeah, so it is that note. It is that note again.
Right. So it's essentially like, you know, I think it's essentially like an operative talking about like, you know, whether it's worth it to continue to try to convert Sabine as a revolutionary asset. You know, that this is, you know,
yeah.
like,
So
yeah,
Robbie, you Aurora wrote this note. I apologize.
Yeah.
And so I think, you recognize the note then, and as like the note that you wrote. And so that did not stay secret for very long.
And the idea then is that you have somehow intercepted this.
It's not. It is not exactly like the paper you wrote. It is a copy, and so it has been spread, and so now people know about this. And I basically say, I intercepted this from getting back to Sabine. And so there are people who would be very disgruntled, shall we say, that you are continuing to accost them, make advances on them, trying to convert them to your cause, whatever it is. And they would not appreciate seeing this.
You know, Aurora, she does quickly recompose herself, but you see definitely this sign that, you know, you perhaps see a few droplets of sweat coming off of her forehead, and she kind of wipes them away, and Aurora says, "Okay, it is more clear to me now what you meant, that I might be in a more compromised situation. How did you come by this?"
I still have my connections. There are people above you that I am very good friends with. But that is not particularly of any consequence. What I asked you here, the reason I asked you here, is to ask for a favor. And I take that letter and I walk over to the fireplace and I toss the letter in the fire. I'm willing to help protect you if you're willing to help protect me. And I'm claiming that this is offer a promise to someone extremely dangerous, which is you.
So this is a commission of sorts.
In a way.
You need my my artistry, as it were, kind of exerted in your favor.
I need your connections with the police. I know you have some of them under your thumb, and I know that you and the rebellion are more than capable of directing them where you will. I would like you to direct them elsewhere.
Oh, so this gets more intriguing as you continue on. You need me to direct the policeman's attention elsewhere. And I would need to know what do you want their attention pulled away from?
There is a friend of mine who is being accosted, shall we say, threatened. His name is Toulouse, and I would prefer that he remain in one piece. And it sounds like that is becoming less and less of a possibility as the days go by.
Toulouse, you say? That is a name I've heard before. It seems that many people are becoming interested in Toulouse of late. And so tell me, what do I get? What do I get in this bargain?
You get an ally. An ally with connections, with power. An ally with secrets.
Or an ally who, when you say has secrets, an ally who can get secrets, perhaps.
I'm going to ask, how is my past getting in the way right now? And I'm asking everybody, how is my past getting in the way right now?
I have a thought, if you're fine with me bringing in a setting element.
Yeah,
I
go
think
for
that
it.
there is a knock at the door. Monsieur Jean Baptiste, it's Jean. I've come to have words with you.
Yes. Okay. I love it. And so, yeah, Jean walks in the room.
Yes, he kind of, has he been to this particular place before?
I would assume so. This is kind of Jean Baptiste's like operating grounds, essentially.
Yeah. Yes, he looks around and he looks at Aurora, who have you met John before, Aurora? Out of curiosity, you can say if you did have or not.
Now, this Jean is...
Jean is the investigator under Claude.
Oh. Okay. Would she know him? I mean, I can't really think of a reason why she would.
Has he investigated you before? On behalf of the court?
No,
Okay.
I think the since the rebellion is the kind of, you've already said the rebellion is like steering the sword. Maybe it's the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah. Have you had him investigate someone before?
No, yeah, that might make sense. Yeah, and maybe, yeah, occasionally, if not him directly, at least with that going on, I think maybe I would at least know who he is.
Yeah, I think that he looks at you and gives a little bow. Miss Aurora, I did not realize that you had business with our mutual gilded friend.
Well, I have business with many people. Some of them I've known for longer than others. I'm just now getting to know a little bit about our gilded friend, as you call him.
Yes, and he kind of gives you a look, Jean Baptiste, just like, I'm going to be filing this, just in my mind for future reference. And Monsieur Jean Baptiste, my Master Claude has requested a meeting with you. One that has to do with your relations. And he kind of, inflects that. Your familial relations.
Jean, this is not the time.
I'm coming to warn you that should you not be willing to answer the call of the department, that Master Claude shall be conducting a more official arrest.
I said, this is not the time. And I slam my hand on the table and grab like a glass of something and throw it at you. And get out. And I am being harsher than I intended. But
Yeah. He is the saber though, and I'm just thinking, like, you're powerful, but is
yeah, no, this is not a good idea.
Yeah. I think that
But-
he, like, as the wine splashes across his face, he wipes it off, looks down at his gloved hand, and sighs. I had come here as a friend, Monsieur Jean, but it appears that you have no desire for friends. And then he takes his nightstick out and gives you a quick jab in the face with it.
Okay, so we're escalating this.
I
All right.
mean, it's a weak move. It doesn't go well for you.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so okay.
And I think this is like this is back someone into a corner, literally or figuratively.
Yeah. So I think Jean-Baptiste is kind of not ready for that. He was he was lashing out as like a frustration just got the better of him.
I hope this does not ruin our friendship, Monsieur Jean-Baptiste. That you will come with me. All must answer to the Department of Investigations.
I think
Okay.
at this point, Aurora will step in and say, Jean, could I have a quick word with you?
Can I propose something really quick? I love the scene. I've Jean leading me out of the room, and before I leave, I turn back to Aurora and pull a second letter out of my pocket and put it back in, and I'm using the move, have something that someone else wants.
Yeah.
And basically saying, like, I asked you for protection. Now I'm threatening you.
Yeah. So he's leading you out then at this point when this happens.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got my page of pentacles. So yeah, do you stop him on the way out, or do you just take that and use that in a future scene?
Well, yeah, I do think I stop him and I say, Jean, a moment.
Yes, Miss Aurora.
You realized when you stepped in that you were interrupting a conversation that we were having.
I realize, and I apologize, Miss Aurora, but the demands of the demands of the department are for the good of all.
I'm afraid that I must ask you to at least temporarily step down on this. I
Are
have
you-
there are important matters that I had to discuss with Jean-Baptiste. I think I'm going to do a strong move here,
Okay.
which seems very, in my mind, seems very appropriate. I have the how do I do this? There he is. So the sword, the Nine of Swords, which is also the one associated with Toulouse, and right, that's the one that we first drew. So, and this is the stand your ground and defend yourself, which is also perhaps defending Jean-Baptiste here, and say, I'm not going to fully explain everything to you, but I will at least tell you that the matter we are discussing does directly involve Toulouse, and there are pieces at play here, people who are involved in this important matter that go far beyond anything that's currently rattling around in your mind. You need to stand down.
He kind of looks between the two of you and nods. If it was anyone but you, Miss Aurora, I would have assumed her to be a liar. And he nods to you, Jean-Baptiste. You have good taste in friends, I have to say. And he looks back to you, Miss Aurora, and says, I look forward to seeing your next painting. You paint, right? I forget what your character does.
No, well, paint and theater, but yes. So yes, painting.
You
yes.
should totally have said that in character, by the way.
Yeah, painting is my one of my specialties.
Yeah, okay. I cannot say that Master Claude will be pleased, but you should go and meet with him in your own time, Monsieur Jean-Baptiste. And I think that he leaves. I do feel, though, like we still managed to fulfill order there.
Yeah, I think so. So I think that's a good spot to end that scene, honestly.
I think at the end, I mean, Aurora would say something like, I have gone out on a limb for you, and I expect that you will remember what I did to help you.
I think you get to draw a card because you gave me something for just a promise.
Okay.
And that's one of my bargains. So yeah, I love that scene. That was good.
Sam, I have a quick question before we move on.
Yeah.
I noticed that one of my strong moves and one of my weak moves are the same move. Is that on purpose?
Which ones?
On each list.
What questions am I supposed to have for you?
What wounds could I heal for you? Is it the same on both? Is that
parlor is supposed to be The weak move 1 is supposed to be, why don't you trust me?
Oh, okay. I'll change that. All right. And there was
That
one
is-
more clarification I wanted. Just let me get that thing. Okay. And then the other is I'm a little confused about the where is it? The bargains.
Mhm.
Because like who is the they in this situation?
Any one of the other people.
Okay, so
So for example, if you look at my bargains, there's the bargain. They draw a card when they give you something for just a promise.
Okay.
And that was Robbie, Aurora gave me something for just a promise, so they drew a card.
Yeah, it's what it encourages other players to interact with you, basically.
Right. And then so when the faction moves take place, that's how we accumulate power.
So the faction moves are, you can think of them as GM moves. They're
Oh, okay.
soft moves that you can make at any time, and to change the fiction based on how you want it to go.
Gotcha.
To accumulate power at the end of a scene, if you did a thing that matches with your faction.
Matches the factions. Okay.
Yeah.
Or that matches your power track questions.
No, the power.
Oh no, you spend those to do that, right?
Yes. So the power things underneath it are when at the end of the session you get to do one of those things.
Okay, right.
So.
Okay. So do we want to take a break and then have come into a new scene, or?
Yeah, that is a good spot for a break. So yeah, why don't we take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and pick up our next scene. So, all right, looks like everybody's back. Sabine,
I had a couple questions.
Yeah.
So, a couple things for a weak move. One of them is see one of your plans go awry. Now that's not anything. I mean, I think the way that scene opened, clearly there was a plan, like with the showing of that letter, right? Clearly, things had kind of gone where Aurora was not planning them to. But I didn't really invoke that, so I didn't know. That was kind of I saw my plan to some extent go awry, but it wasn't something that I activated.
Yeah, I think the best way that I can kind of describe the weak moves is that it's supposed to be I was trying to do something and then this thing happened and I did this thing that caused me to be in a complicated situation. So if that never triggered, then that doesn't really make sense as part of the weak move.
And the other question was on my power track. One of them is reveal a connection with a powerful person. How does their influence lift your position? And I was wondering about the kind of passing on that this involved a lose, and that there were things kind of in motion with respect to.
So keep in mind those power moves are the big episode ending scene that cliffhangers at the end of a Game of Thrones episode. So that's like, oh shit, I've brought in this this chief of police who knows everything and he's gonna rat you out and bring you to the gallows type. Bring someone powerful in to the narrative.
Okay.
And that's the kind of like episode ending cliffhanger scene that we're looking for.
All right, so I'm figuring I should probably try and frame a scene here. with Sabine. So I'm thinking that Sabine is she comes like there's kind of I'm gonna look at the locations here really quick. So I think this is kind of this is at the square where the executions take place, and I think that it kind of has a it's kind of a raised part of Paris where there's kind of there's a kind of clear view of a winding French street leading or Parisian street leading down into the Le Miasma. You can just kind of see it in the distance as kind of a backdrop, and Sabine has chosen this moment to kind of, it's a place that people pass through. Normally, there's no executions happening right now, but she and Vespard, who like there's a kind of theatricality to the way that they get around because they have these mirrored disabilities, so they kind of like lean up against each other to walk forward, and it's and there's a like somebody pulls out a crate that Vespard sits on. He's a man of few words. He's not really known to have to talk to any groups of people. But Sabine speaks for both of them, and she stands with kind of like a cane that she uses to kind of support herself a little bit, and she starts kind of basically riling the crowd. And I imagine like if somebody else wanted their character to like come through this scene for an interaction, that makes a certain amount of sense. But she's just kind of rabble rousing about all these people who are trying to seize the miasma for their own ends and to harness this power that clearly is a kind of a divine gift, or at least a divine message to all of us.
I was just going to ask, what other factions do you see having a stake in what's going on?
Well, I mean, in a sense, what she's she is calling out primarily the revolution, but she is kind of she's in a plague on all your houses kind of mode. So she's saying, does the revolution want to share whatever it learns and its secret meetings in darkened rooms? Would the crown have shared this with us? Would the saber do anything but make this a tool of control and oppression?
Yeah, I think that. Oh, go ahead.
Go.
That's because I was going to say, I think that definitely Cloud and the Saber are going to show up if you're in a plague on all your houses mode, because of course our big thing is order.
I love that scene of like the crowd starting to gather and you see the ring of police start to enter the square.
Yeah, and I think that Cloud comes up with city guards flanked on either side of him. Mistress Sabine, those are quite inflammatory words you're speaking.
They are only the flame of the people. And the flame of the people only burns what must be torn down.
Surely, though, surely, what the people want is not destruction, and I look around at them all. You want safety. You want to live through the winter. And it's not people like idealists like my good mistress Sabine who will provide that for you. She, as she says, will bring you fire and destruction. And I do think I am underestimating your power and paying the price here.
Okay, yeah, I think, yeah, that's kind of how I was working it. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna play a card here. I'm gonna do a strong move. I'm gonna reveal an item that I bought, traded, or stole. And I'm gonna say this is a. I managed to, and I'm gonna go ahead and. I'm gonna play my big value Queen of Pentacles here. This is an internal document in the Bureau of Investigation that it was. Claude, do you feel comfortable with this being a document your name is on?
I mean, what is the document?
Well, the document is about your speculations about the miasma and how it might be used.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
all right. So, and I point right at you and I say, I have here this document that and I read a passage from it talking about this miasma is an instrument of control. Does this sound like someone who cares whether we starve in the winter, who cares whether we are free?
I shout out, the good Mistress Sabine has certain delusions of conspiracy against the people and against the good people of France. And I'm provoking the suspicion of my peers. Because I think the guards as well here are getting a bit awkward with this whole situation. Because I don't think it's commonly known among the guards that we have, that we're just redirecting the miasma under most of Paris.
Right. Okay, so and I, I'm like kind of reaching this point where I say my friend comrades in suffering, we will, we this must be answered for. I ask that you all return to your homes and reflect on what has come to pass, and we will meet here again on the next evening, and we will make our will known.
So, yeah, is that where you want to end this scene then, or?
No, if you want to keep going, but that's like what she's. If you want to interject it within that, that's.
I think
that's fine, but that's kind of the direction she's headed.
The advice is good. Return to your home and reflect. Reflect on what will happen should the city fall into chaos.
And as the crowd is kind of dispersing, I approach Claude and I say,
an excellent performance, Mistress Sabine.
I would just have you know that the people are a caged tiger. And I could have opened the cage just now. I do not recommend that you take them lightly.
And I have to thank you. You did my guard's job very well for me. And I give you a smile.
Well, perhaps you will not be so grateful to me when you see the will of the people.
Perhaps. Where did you get that letter, Mistress Sabine? That document? And I am spending my cups card to learn a secret. I think maybe you don't mean to give it away, but perhaps something you say reveals it. Was it John? Oh, that fucker.
I think that what ends up happening is I'm trying to be cagey in how I speak of this, but like it's one of those things that your colleagues well enough to be able to narrow it down, because essentially I allude that there is someone in the gendarme who has family obligations that are being ignored and unmet, and this has made this person sympathetic to our cause, and as an advocate, as a fellow sympathist to the people, thought that this was an important thing for us to know, and fed it to me.
No, it doesn't sound like Claude then.
Yeah, you're able to narrow it down, like almost. You're able to narrow it down to the specific person.
Thank you for the information, Mistress Sabine. It is always a pleasure.
And she, as soon as she has decided to disengage, she there's kind of a signal. There's just a couple of people. She's good at kind of making this organization rise up around her. These people who like set up the crate for Vespard and everything, just it all kind of seems to magically happen that she and they are what call it unobtrusively escorted out of the square.
So, I mean, like, did we actually, like, because one of my motivations is order, and it feels like we got what we wanted out of the scene, which was for the crowd to be dispersed.
Right.
I don't know how this works. Like, if we could, like, I don't know if it's meant to be interpreted that way.
It's up to you. If you feel like you achieved the goals of your faction, and I mean, both people can say they achieved their goals.
I think that I definitely achieved one of my goals in this scene for my faction.
Yeah, I think this is more about Sabine showing her power. I would say even that this is a bargain. Like I have revealed the influence that I have over the crowd.
Yeah, so Sabine, this is more of a power move than just actually achieving something.
Right.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Although, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Aurora, you did fulfill the relationship that you have with the saber in that last scene as well, which is that you manipulate the saber to do your bidding.
Yeah, so that is a thing you'd get power for that. So I like that scene. Does somebody have...
Oh, and I think I revealed a secret that shouldn't have been made public, but that's a faction move. So yeah. No worries. I'm talking to myself.
It's okay. Steven or Robbie, do you guys have a scene that you want to do? Because you two haven't kind of set a scene yet tonight. the scenes don't necessarily have to immediately relate to what's going on. They can start off as just, I want to experiment with this relationship, or I have an influential philosopher friend, I want to meet him. It can be, I was I want to explore this question that I answered earlier, and then that scene's usually they somehow navigate themselves back to being about whatever's going on, but they can start just from any of the questions.
Sure. I think I'd like to, because it's a character we haven't of like my kind of setting characters. It's one I haven't really pulled in. We haven't really pulled into the story just yet. I have Margot, a cheerful spy I make regular demands of. She is the grocer who calls me a devil. Since we did establish there is a network of which of you has the spies that are like people working in the market?
That's Sabine.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that scene.
Yeah, I think that. Oh, Mistress Margot, it's a wonderful, how wonderful to make your acquaintance this afternoon. And I assume it's probably going to be your character, Richard, since she is.
Yeah.
I'm just going to open this straight up. Weak move, how do I disgust you? Because she does call me the devil.
Yeah. And this is in the marketplace, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I detected an unpleasant aroma as she's standing over an entire spread of fish, right? She's I thought my entire stock had gone off until I saw you approach.
Oh yes. I was thinking just today that I may want fish for dinner tonight. And I kind of look back at Jean who's there, because he is my assistant, whether he wants to be or not. John. I can't even bring in one aristocrat in hiding. Wasn't I just saying, what, don't you think that fish might be wonderful tonight, John? If you want to play him, go ahead, John Baptiste.
Yeah, I can play as John. Cuz that makes sense, as he would be the source of the crown's influence in this scene. So yeah, he's just I think he it isn't paying attention to this scene at all. He has no idea what's going on. Does John know that Margot is a spy?
No, I just brought you out on this thing because I can give you orders and you have to do them. So I just don't like you, John. I don't say it out loud this time, but I have before. I run my hand over the various fish. What would you recommend? What is particularly in season today, Mistress Margot?
She sizes you up. I believe that that perhaps you might wish to pursue your custom elsewhere. I am
I
afraid that
heard your
my
mackerel is very good from several esteemed sources.
oh yes,
I would hate to leave without any of your mackerel. And I kind of take a look over, kind of again, look through the fish. And I got another cups card here, so I kind of go through your fish carefully until there's one that kind of I see Margot tense up, perhaps, as I come near it. I think I may just want this one. And I take a look at it. It's a fine looking fish, isn't it, Mistress Margot?
Yeah, yes it is. Do you want me to
I give it a couple of shakes and a message falls out. And it comes with a prize. How wonderful. And I drop the fish. Well, I actually hand it over to John because I am going to eat this later tonight.
I don't think Jean even noticed the message. He's just like looking somewhere else, and you just like smack him in the back of the head with
Yeah.
this fish.
Yeah. Fuck you, John. You're such a
But
bad
I
assistant.
do want to use a faction move.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have subtly remind them of their lowly station. And I think Mara like looks down at the empty cash box and is like, I can't afford to like, yeah, that is the question. Do you like seek compensation?
Yep.
Do you?
I lift up the message from the ground. Of course, if you would pay, because I do entrust Sean with some petty cash for our expenditures. If you would pay her, Jean,
You want
for
me to
the fish?
expense your fish?
If you would, John.
You're signing the damn purchase order.
Yes.
All right. I am going to play a faction move.
Sure.
So Margot is going to basically like as you are like partially up from the like you picked up the message from the ground and you're kind of getting ready, like you're standing up with it. She overturns the table that's in between the two of you, like spilling just a flood of fish onto you. And she herself stumbles over it as well. And under the pretense of assisting you getting up and all this fish and everything, she tries, and whether successfully or not, she tries to like smear the fish on the message.
Well, okay.
Right, go ahead.
I like that thought, but I do actually, I get to reveal a secret with my strong move.
Yes.
So
yeah, that's fine. So what I think I want to do is just kind of mitigate that a little bit, in that it's like you don't get the whole message. You get enough that it's actionable intelligence, fine. But like maybe it's not enough to really like start arresting people or anything like that.
So what you can do is that is exactly what the yield mechanic is for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the yield mechanic is specifically for somebody else uses a strong move and I don't want them to have all of that.
Right. Okay, yeah, then that works.
And so what happens then is you get a little bit of control. You get to narrate the scene into a cliffhanger, which I love this this last moment of you flip the table, fish go flying everywhere.
Right.
And
Okay,
that,
well it sounds like
works for
that's
me then.
essentially what we were headed for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
and
And
so
that gives Stephen power, doesn't it?
yep. So Steven gets to mark one additional power, but he doesn't necessarily get the secret.
Right. I'm fine with that. So yeah, then we don't just immediately pick that up, right? We flip to another scene first.
And nominally, you would flip to another scene. You could like do a time jump to something else, but I like the idea of switching to like Robbie
Sure.
or Aurora setting a scene, because we haven't heard from him in a while.
Okay. Sam, just to remind me, so the opening scene we had, what was it through my father that this kind of got set up?
I think you assumed that, but it was through the Baron. Like we're old nobles, we know each other, and so he mentioned you at some point.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, with Aurora, I mean, I am interested in exploring some of these relationships, and what one would be with my father. I mean, I think that could be a kind of interesting scene, and I imagine that I'm.
And the Baron also put you into. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the Baron also put this mysterious Jean-Baptiste fellow into contact with you.
Correct.
I feel like that's something that certainly concerns Aurora.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I think it does. Yeah. That and you know what? Why? Yeah. Why was I? Yeah. Why was I kind of kind of lassoed into that? And yeah, what was the Baron's role? Because I believe that the Baron loves my work. Right. That was my my assumption. So let's do that scene. And I'm also assuming that Aurora's background is like Alexander, her father, is some type of perhaps minor aristocrat, right? So I have like this kind of background. But yeah, let's do a scene with Aurora confronting Baron, although I think doing so carefully, because I you know, the fact that the Baron, at least in the past, has expressed an admiration for me is something that I don't want to destroy. And let me look at go to these locations. Maybe we'll make it at Notre Dame. What would we be doing there? I
mean, it is a cathedral.
Yeah,
could be. You could be at church.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way I'm imagining this is that Aurora doesn't. I don't imagine her to be a particularly religious type, but she knows that the Baron, the Baron attends Mass regularly, and so she wants to talk to him, and so manages to go to Mass on a day that the Baron is there, and it would be maybe right outside of Notre Dame as the Mass has finished and we are filing out. And so who's going to be playing the Baron?
I think it makes sense for me as the crown to be this Baron.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, so we're filing out, and the Baron is in front of Aurora walking down the steps, and Aurora kind of approaches and kind of touches him on the elbow and says, Baron, so nice to see you on this beautiful morning. The music of the cathedral is always so very uplifting.
Yeah, I have this image of the Baron being like a overly jovial man who's always very happy about everything and very excited. He's got this. He very much looks like he used to be very fat, but is like sunken, and so like his skin doesn't quite fit right. And so he's a little bit saggy, and but he's always very upbeat and happy, and his clothes don't really fit anymore either because they were all tailored for someone much bigger than he currently is. But he looks over at you and says, Aurora, I didn't expect you to be here. I haven't seen you at Mass in quite a few weeks now.
Oh, well, I do try to attend whenever I'm able to, but well, you know, these are times when you know, things are swirling about, and I've been quite busy of late.
Oh, you must tell me about them. Come. Let us. And he looks around, like trying to figure out where to go. And he points over. There's like a cafe on one of the street corners nearby, and the two of you head over to this little restaurant.
And yeah, we sit down, and Aurora says, "Tell me, Baron, you have many connections about the city. I must tell you that I was called into the Workman's Row, if you can believe it, of all places. Somebody wanted to have a meeting with me there, and well, I won't go into the details of the meeting, but let's just say it was both an intriguing meeting, but also one that was kind of putting me in something of a spot. And I was curious as to why I was being called there, and well, came to discover that it was through your connection that I was brought there. I was meeting with somebody named Jean Baptiste.
Oh, and like he's been smiling, if a little bit confused this whole time. And as soon as you say that name, his face like drops a little bit. He's like, "Oh, you had to meet with him. I do apologize for that. He is a rather forceful fellow. What did he want with you, if I might ask?"
Well, I'll let you know what the gist of this was, but before I do that, could you let me know what your entanglement or involvement with Jean Baptiste is?
We go back. He I didn't think I'd have to talk about this. And the waiter brings over the the coffee, and he picks it up, and he's like visibly shaking. Puts it back down before even taking a sip. He and I were he and I were together for some time, and let's just say that if I saw him again, he would probably have a hole in him.
Oh, well, I apologize if I've stoked up
No.
some fiery.
No, it is quite all right. You didn't know, and the past is the past. And he's still shaking, but manages to like take a sip of his coffee, sets it back down.
And I'm gonna, at this point, I'm gonna go on and use one of my weak moves and reveal one of my secrets, which is basically to kind of let him know, I'll divulge, right? I'll just say, okay, since you have let me know and kind of cleared up for me what the connection with Jean Baptiste was, I will let you know the gist of our conversation. He knows that I have some sway along with the rebellion. Well, that I have some sway with the arm of the law in the city, and was asking me to kind of exert some of my influence in that area. And well, I will divulge one more thing, which is that he was very concerned with Toulouse.
I don't recognize that name. Am I supposed to recognize that? Never mind. But I see that. Listen. If you are dealing with him, you're going to need to be careful. Promise me that.
Aurora is kind of moved by the fact that he seems to be genuinely concerned, and Aurora reaches out on the table and touches the Baron's hand and says, I'm always alert to dangers that are about me, but I must say that your showing concern for me touches me.
He nods. Can I trigger one of your strong moves? Because I have introduced a lavish, unique, rare, or specialized item, and I really want to fit that in with like your discover how someone is vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe like I have an old memento of Jean Baptiste's that you could use as leverage or something like that.
Yeah, and I get I need to pull another card, right? Because I had that weak move.
Yeah.
Of revealing the secret. So let me go on and take that. I must say that my understanding of the cards are a little bit weak. This is
that's fine.
Give me 1 second to check out what I have here. See which one of these I would want to use. Because this is one that could be any, but then I would want to save perhaps if I'm thinking about one with a suit that I would be wanting to use.
Yeah,
so,
if you've got doubles of something or you want to get rid of a card, then
okay, I'm gonna get rid of this one. I gotta go here.
okay. 4 of Cups. Yeah, so I think that he I already forgot what the character I'm playing's name is. Jean de Tonnerre. We have a lot of Jeans. But he I think he pulls out like a brooch. And it's got a family crest on it.
Mm-hmm.
This was his family's brooch, and he left it behind. You know how dangerous it would be if anyone was to find out what family he was from.
Oh.
I beg you, stay away from him and I don't want you to need to use this, but if you have to, I want you to be safe.
Aurora will take the brooch and look at it and say, well, Jean-Baptiste already owes me a favor, but my sense of him is that in order to get people like him to deliver on their favors, you sometimes need an extra push. This I think would do the trick very, very nicely.
End scene. I love that. We are right about at the top of the hour. Do we want to take another break? Is 5 minutes good for you guys, or does someone want 10 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes I think is good for me.
Yeah, it's for me.
Okay, cool. We'll be back at the top of the hour then. All right. We are all back. Where do we want to start off? Who's kind of feeling somewhere that we want to go? We've had a couple of scenes now that are NPC type scenes. So maybe we'd like to see more direct discussion. Steven, I know you're eating, but I do want to see the scene of Jean-Baptiste and Claude having that meeting at some point. That doesn't have to be this next scene, but I'd like to see that at some point tonight.
Well, and I'm realizing, I think that I don't think I don't know what might work to do it, but Sabine and Jean-Baptiste have not been on camera together before.
Yeah, and I was also thinking that we also need to resolve that cliffhanger. So perhaps we resolve it by having the grocer, like some meeting between the two of you that the grocer will come in on to like warn you of what's happened?
I was thinking it would be interesting to have the like that letter or something be incriminating evidence against Jean-Baptiste and something like that. And so, yeah, so like you, Richard, you get to basically have narrative control of how that scene went because you yielded the scene.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm imagining is that in the scuffle, the message, like I think that this is very era literary appropriate. The message got torn in half, and so Claude ended up with half of the message, and I have the other half, and it's left to kind of decipher it. So what Sabine has done is like I think that she has sent a message to Jean-Baptiste that it's urgent that they speak. And let's see.
Can I really quickly? I just need to refresh my connection because it is very
no
poor
worries,
connection
no
for
worries.
me. There we go. Can somebody talk?
Hello.
Hey.
So it's a little bit better. We'll deal with it. Yeah. So you were. I like that idea of the kind of like warning meeting. Where do you think that takes place?
Well, how out and about is oh jeez, hang on. I'm getting some really annoying Windows activity here. Hang on. Okay. So how out and about is Jean-Baptiste? Is he likely to respond to a summons? Or would he want to be would he want well, okay, here's the idea, I guess, then, that I think Sabine invites him to the garret, the tenement, to meet in secret. So I think there's like a. Oh, go ahead.
Can Robbie or Steven talk?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, no, I'm just getting static from everybody. That kind of sucks. So sometimes this works itself out. If I leave it by itself for a little bit. So if we want to jump to a different scene that doesn't involve me because I can't understand anything anyone's saying.
Okay.
I was also thinking of something that would get. I mean, we've had a few mentions of the miasma floating around, but nothing really direct. I think.
Well, we did have we did show a little bit of that of what's his face, Toulouse.
Yeah.
I'm always wondering because we've really only seen Toulouse in the context of coming into Cloud's office. So I'm wondering if if like since you are looking into Toulouse's identity, if perhaps you are approaching either Cloud or Sabine about trying to locate him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it might. I'm thinking that maybe Cloud would be the more. I mean, because both Cloud and Aurora have their own kind of focus interests on him.
Well, you know, if it was a situation where like somebody suspects that Sabine knows like his whereabouts,
Mhm.
and so we could pivot from a scene of someone going to Sabine trying to find out, and then immediately pivot to her her saying she has no idea, and immediately pivot to her meeting with him or meeting with someone who does.
Uh-huh.
And so like just kind of, you know, for the dramatic irony of it, do we want to give Sam a couple minutes to try and get back in here?
Yeah. Did he dropped out?
Yeah, he dropped out altogether.
Yeah, I think we should.
I think he's just trying to reset his connection again.
Yeah.
So what do you mean? What is it you want to frame then?
Okay, so who are you? Okay, so you're Aurora and Claude are looking for.
Well, I don't think I'm looking for him. I've actually met with him and had conversations with him and know his secrets. I think it's just Aurora that's actually looking for him.
Mhm.
Okay.
So,
like, I think it's more that Aurora doesn't realize that like the Toulouse she's looking for is like the Toulouse who is, you know, the Toulouse, who's like the hero of the city.
Right. And so if you came to me, well, for one, it might be that like you could that would be a bargain of mine that you're coming to me for advice or guidance. Hello. Can you hear us now?
Hello?
We're talking to you. Hello.
can you hear us?
I don't think so. So
No.
so yeah, what was the scene you wanted to do then?
Well, if Aurora is coming to Sabine on the idea that that suspects that Sabine might have a lead on Toulouse, and kind of coming for a favor, then like Sabine might kind of play dumb about it, and then immediately turn around and talk to Jean-Baptiste.
Yeah, that perhaps rather than like, oh, okay. I was just gonna say that perhaps rather than like just having the scene where effectively she goes to you and gets nothing, perhaps we have a scene that is in like a public place and you can narrate in your faction, since part of their thing is being there overhearing secrets even when they're not around.
Oh,
and that
so
would
like
get you a way of finding out about this whole thing, and perhaps also still allowing Aurora to actually do something that advances her narrative.
that makes sense. That makes sense. So it could be that Aurora is asking around, and I am just kind of, you know, some proxy, some member of the that makes sense. Where would you imagine a scene like that going down, Robbie?
Well,
Yeah, because I was also just thinking that the last time Sabine and Aurora were together, they weren't they were in a somewhat heated exchange.
Well, they have a complicated relationship.
Yes. Yeah.
like, are we at Are we at the kind of, although there is the Louvre, like perhaps are we meeting there? Like, is this kind of one of those clandestine, because this is the period where Le Louvre was converted into the National Art Gallery. Are we there like you're an artist and I'm just there as an appreciator of the arts, and clearly we don't, we're not there to have secret conspiratorial conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. So what is the art piece you're showing here at Le Louvre? Like, you don't have to describe it like in detail, but what is like perhaps the imagery it evokes?
I think, I mean, given the spirit of the times and Aurora's somewhat grandiose and demented ideas about art, I think it would be some type of painting. I think it would be a kind of violent painting, right? A painting that was kind of dramatically depicting some, maybe some. It could be like just a kind of a painting representing some battlefield scene or something along those lines.
Yeah. Oh, and I just have this thought here that I love. Oh, but Sam isn't quite, well, he's also a hero of the people. Yeah. And I think that we are at this art opening of at the Louvre where Mistress Aurora, a artistic depiction as always.
Yes, and Aurora gestures at this one canvas and says, "Dramatic scene represented here, but there's something about it that doesn't quite entirely hit the mark." I don't know. It seems a bit. Well, vulgar may be too strong a word, but it certainly conveys the violence, but doesn't do it in a sufficiently artistic way.
One can rarely render a violence artistic. There is always a necessary drawing away that one should evoke, should one not?
Well, that is the challenge. I mean, I think, I mean, many would say that combining a scene of violence with something aesthetic, some type of aesthetic vision is impossible. But that is certainly something that many artists have striven towards. And this artist approached, but I think ultimately the whole effect is destroyed. And points.
You are too hard on yourself, Mistress Aurora.
Well,
but hey, hang on. There was some talk about commissioning a piece for the courts, and if you could, Monsieur Toulouse, I would like to introduce you to an acquaintance of my own, Mistress Aurora. She's quite a known artist of certain circles, and I am one of your bargains is when they introduce you to a powerful person, which Toulouse is.
Yes.
So I would have asked. I don't know if you can hear us again, Sam.
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Because I was going to say, if you would like to take on the role of Toulouse here, since I am bringing him into the scene.
Yeah, I can do that. So I'm trying to remember how I played him last week. Yeah, so he's if I remember correctly, he's like this he's confident and like charismatic, but ultimately not very effective
I pat my arm on his shoulder and say, try not to pry too many of his secrets from him. He has so many. And I give like a laugh, like it's a joke, but I think Toulouse is probably like just
sweating under the collar.
Yes.
And you're presenting him as somebody who might have a commission. Is that the hook? You're muted.
I know that you want to meet with someone named Toulouse. I don't, as I know as a character you do, but I'm presenting him as in character as someone who would want to who might commission you.
Yeah. So Aurora, with this unexpected introduction,
because I don't know that you're after this guy.
She looks at Toulouse and says, Toulouse, yeah, I'm kind of honored to make your acquaintance. How
The pleasure is mine, I assure you.
how do you find the art that you see before you here?
It is most impressive. I must admit that I am not a connoisseur of the finer details of paint and canvas, but from what I have seen, it appears quite marvelous.
Well, you are somebody whose reputation has certainly caught my attention.
I do not claim to know what you mean.
Well, you know, you were just introduced to me as somebody who has many secrets and
him.
well,
Claude blusters and tries to play me up, but I promise you that he's rather full of it. I'm not all that interesting. And he says that in like a I'm being modest, but I know that I'm actually a very interesting person tone.
And although he technically isn't a client,
mm-hmm.
like I'm just saying that is there. Fall in love with someone.
Yeah, I was just.
I think this could be a client. Yeah, and I was kind of willing to go that way by I was going to tempt someone with wealth or influence. In this case, being like a relationship with Toulouse being that influence.
Yeah, and I think that Aurora is definitely kind of looking at this as an opportunity, and you know, Aurora will you know, say to Toulouse, well, you are a bit modest, I must say, in terms of kind of downplaying your reputation. But let me introduce myself. My name is Aurora, and well, I'm well, I'm an artist of some renown, and well, I am especially interested in rendering the portraits of, well, let's just say those who are people who we should take note of. I'm especially interested in capturing those who are on the verge of greatness. And Toulouse, I must say that you would be, well, I would be honored if I could perhaps convince you to let me render you as well. What I see it as giving expression to your true form and spirit.
I'm honored. Thank you, ma'am. You are and you can tell he's getting flustered at this point. You do me a great service by claiming these things about me, but you've done so much already, and this is not the time or place to be discussing the what may happen.
I agree. I agree.
Show me what you've done. And he like offers an arm to you.
And Aurora says, "Oh, I would be happy to show you things that I have done." And I agree that this is not really the time or the place to kind of show you these trifles. I would like to.
You intrigue me.
Yes, I would. Let's go off here and let me show you some of the really true artistic visions that I have, which are barely hinted at with these trifles on the wall.
Would you say that this is sharing a moment of intimacy?
I would say it is sharing a moment of intimacy. I was also looking at the weak move. It was here. So we got to. Neglect your art. Like at this point, kind of dismissing the paintings that are on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like that.
There, but I'm saying, oh, this is really nothing, right? I have something much more significant, right? That the actual completed paintings are
Yeah, I like that.
Really.
Yeah. So, yeah, where do you bring us?
I think I carry with me a small little artist's sketch notebook where I've been kind of putting my hand to kind of doing some kind of heroic portraits. And I think I take Toulouse. I think we're still in the Louvre, but I go to some back hallway, right?
I was going to suggest we could go like to the gardens that are just outside.
Oh,
thing.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, we go out there, just the two of us. I start to kind of show a few of these kind of very rough sketches, but then say, oh, now, granted, what I will do right now is very, very, very quick, but let me just show you in the faintest outlines what I have in mind for you. And she kind of gets you to pose, and you know, she's kind of quickly kind of doing up a sketch, but is you know, throughout this, you know, looking for moments when she can make, you know, intense kind of eye contact, and you know, has like little like oohs and ahs that she does, and at the end of this, she turns around and has depicted on this, you know, kind of in her charcoal sketch. You know, it's the outline of Toulouse, but not in a garden, right? I mean, she has this kind of depicted as some type of monumental type of piece, with Toulouse perhaps depicted on a kind of battlefield or something like this, that you know, but him kind of this triumphant figure there.
That's awesome. Are you using the like create something beautiful move? Because you have that.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and I do have what I need to activate that move, which I had been, because that is, and
I think that's a very powerful moment to use that.
yes, and
Yeah,
I'm
that's
assuming
awesome.
this card is a pentacle, correct?
Yeah.
So yeah, I will use that and use that to impress Toulouse, with, even though it was a quickly done sketch, but yeah, that there's something really kind of striking about that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, do we like end the scene with like a quick peck on the cheek type scene where we see that, and then
I think that's good, yeah.
And then we close out the garden.
Yeah.
I like that. So we're getting close to the end here. We've got about another half an hour, which at the rate we're going is about a scene. And so I think this is as good an opportunity as any for Claude, because Claude has the most power right now to kind of frame our final scene and pick which one of his power moves you want to use.
Yeah. I think I'm going to pick the first one, poisoning any person, group, event, or relationship. How do you keep it secret? So is this just sort of a narrated scene?
So it could be a single narrated scene by you. It could be that is the outcome, and we could play out the lead up to it, knowing that that's where we're going. It's up to you.
I mean, yeah, I think that this sort of follows after that last scene there, where we see the character, we see Claude, we see like what was it? Toulouse, right? We see Toulouse retiring to his quarters, looking at the drawing that Aurora made and setting it down. And as he kind of goes into another room to because I assume he was probably dressed in like full uniform, since this was a bit of an event. He comes back, and Claude is sitting in a chair looking at the picture. And Claude says, our Aurora always was a gifted artist. An excellent depiction, don't you think? And I set it down. I hope you are not falling for the girl, my dear my dear Toulouse.
Why are you here?
And this is, I'm actually kind of using this to reframe that whole last scene a bit. That it's important that you become close to her, Toulouse, if we are to find a means of curing your affliction.
Okay, I love this.
The girl has some sort of, because if you recall during character creation, you have control over the miasma, Aurora. Or at least you believe you do.
Mm-hmm.
She has a unique gift with the miasma, Toulouse. And if we were to control it, refine it, I am certain that we would be able to find a means of resolving that that poisoning beyond the mere stopgaps that I can provide.
Yes, I love the I don't think Toulouse even responds to this, but the ending shot of like him holding the paint the drawing in one hand and the other hand is burned with the coin and it's pulsing and he's like looking between the two.
Just remember where your priorities lie, Toulouse, and I exit.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. And so that is our closing scene for the way this works. So next time we get to resolve how that relationship pans out. We get to resolve what this mystery secret was that the fishmonger had.
So I go down to 0 now, right?
Yeah, you go. Your power goes down to 0, and the rest of us keep ours, so we can try and keep ahead of you.
But I add a new faction relationship to myself.
Yep.
Okay.
And so you get to add any relationship to any one of the boxes. So it could be something like the saber has leverage over somebody else. It could be that the crown is afraid of you now. It could be that anything you want.
Okay. If other people want to like talk out like closing game stuff, I'm going to think on that.
Okay, yeah. If you want to think on it over the next session, you can over the next week. You can do it at the beginning of next session too.
Okay.
That's up to you. So with that, do you guys have any closing stuff before I stop the recording? Nope. All right. Thank you all for watching. If you want to join us for this and other games, you can find more information at gauntlet-rpg.com. This weekend, we're doing an open gaming weekend. There's still a lot of spots open for that. If you want to come and try it out, see how a game works. I'm running a game of Trophy Dark, and I'm running a game of the Queen of Cups, which should be a lot of fun. And so you might be able to come and hang out with us. Until then, I will see you around.